I picked it up Wednesday, and out of joking, when I got in the truck down at the dealer, I said, I've never seen one of these delivered. Maybe this is the first one in the world. So we took a quick little video and they posted it on LinkedIn. And sure enough, Duncan Aldred, the GM for, or the VP for GM, posted it and said, yep, I think this is one of the first ones in the world, and posted it up there. And he was able to confirm it.
Welcome back to Turn Down for What, your source for EV news and updates. Like and subscribe for more content like this episode. Let's dive on in. Welcome back to Turn Down for What? Another week, another episode. Here we go.
Yes, sir.
Today I am excited. I am excited. I have personally geeked out and nerded out and, had all the feelings and the sentiments towards the GMC Denali Sierra EV that was coming out. And, there was all the publicity around what it was and looking at some of the announcements, the range, the charging speed, the features. I mean, it just looked tough. And, we were, kind of in that interim. I joined some Facebook groups with it, just trying to see, the news around it. And here we are. Today, we have what I believe might be the very first GMC Sierra EV driver in the nation. So, Wade, welcome to the podcast. Thank you for joining with us today.
Thanks for having me, guys. I'm happy to be here and just lucky that I got the first one and I can share it with you guys.
Yes, it was a very exciting thing. I saw it come through and I was like, wait a second. This is the first real life application, because you see some walk arounds in the studios and some of the prelim stuff, but this is actual tangible delivery on the ground that can be beat up and tested. Maybe not beat up, but tested. And so today we're going to spend a little bit of time, one, talking to you, Wade, about some of your preliminary experiences with the truck, kind of your first impression thoughts, talk a little bit about, we'll kind of walk through of the truck together and kind of look at some of those features. And we're actually today filming the podcast, if you're watching on YouTube, from the truck itself. So we can kind of let you spotlight or highlight anything that you want to do while we're on the podcast. So yeah, kick it off. Give us your first impression. You got this truck, was it Wednesday, Thursday of last week?
I picked it up Wednesday, and out of joking, when I got in the truck down at the dealer, I said, I've never seen one of these delivered. Maybe this is the first one in the world. So we took a quick little video and they posted it on LinkedIn. And sure enough, Duncan Aldred, the GM for, or the VP for GM, posted it and said, yep, I think this is one of the first ones in the world, and posted it up there. And he was able to confirm it. So we're
That's
not just,
awesome.
um, it's been great so far. I have exactly 300 miles on it. Just going back and forth to work. No real big giant bugs. The only quirk I've had is I had a power flash at my house, and it had an error code while I was charging, but all I had to do was charge it all the way to the limit and it reset itself. So far, no big hiccups on this. The only defect on the whole truck is a little piece of plastic in the grill. It's been ordered to fix. You know, that's pretty good for a brand new first run, first delivery, I would say.
Absolutely, yeah. So tell us a little bit about your history. Have you driven any other EV trucks or any EVs in general?
Yeah, so this is my third EV. Um, I originally ordered the Hummer. Probably I wasn't in the edition one, but I ordered it probably early 2023. And instead of waiting for it and driving my 1-ton Silverado, I just went and bought a Tesla to kind of, hey, I'll get into the electric car world. Drove that for a while, liked it, didn't wasn't the greatest for what I wanted to do. So I upgraded, went into an Audi e-tron SUV. Love that car. I'm gonna keep that car. It's going to my wife. Probably the most comfortable. Um, and so while I was waiting, my Hummer actually came in, I don't know, last spring. But then they told me, hey, your Denali's coming. Well, I'm not gonna buy two of them. That's silly. So I gave back the Hummer and I waited for this. And sure enough, 8 weeks later, it was, hey, it's here. The next day, it's ready. Wow. Okay. I was expecting it into the year, and here it shows up first week August. So
Yeah,
whirlwind.
I hadn't heard much chatter around actual delivery starting to take place. And like then yours showed up and I was like, wow, okay, I guess they're delivering them now. I thought it would be closer to the end of the year when the first ones would come out.
Yeah, and maybe I was a pest to my dealer. Every time I got a piece of news, I'd reach out to them and say, "Hey, find out." They would call GM, and maybe that's why they got it first, because they were just on it. And so, yeah, that
You should have seen Jesse and I with our lightnings when they first came out. I mean, Jesse can attest to how much of a nerd I was about our trucks. I found the tracking information for the train and I was calling 5 times a day and seeing the update of where the train was on its trek from Dearborn, Michigan to North Carolina, where it was taken off of the train and put on a truck and delivered to East Tennessee. So I was like, hey, Jesse, your truck is in this city and my truck is in this city because they were both on the train at the same time. But it was a little bit nerdy when it came to tracking the delivery of my Lightning when it came out.
nice. Yeah, I wish I
Yeah.
had that visibility. I didn't have any.
At the time there was the Ford Pass app. You could, if it was registered to you, you could try to activate. And sometimes the people, as they were loading them on and off the train, it would show up on the screen and people wouldn't read it. So they would just see the pop-up menu and they would just hit it. And so for a bunch of people, you could then see on the GPS, you could follow it as it went across the country if you happen to get lucky and whoever was driving them onto the train
Yeah, I
was
was remote starting my truck, on the train. No,
a
I hit the activate button because they had activated the system, but it never the person didn't never accept it in the
yeah.
truck when they were testing it, so I never got that far.
There is something
Um,
special about being that first initial group and just the excitement of it and the anticipation of it. I mean, how long were you waiting, Wade? I mean, this is a reservation. How many
when
months
did you
slash
actually
years? Yeah.
place the order?
The moment it opened, so probably it was October 2022, and so it'll be almost 2 years that I waited for it, and I probably got it within the first minute. So
I mean,
yeah.
because all of us three drive Lightnings, and we all reserved May 19th, 2021 when that announcement came out. And exactly, basically a year later they started doing the first deliveries. But all three of us were in the first 5,000 delivered, but none of us can say we were the first.
Yeah.
The first delivery of the actual vehicle, which is, I mean, that's a cool statement to have. When they started delivering, what vehicle was it? I think it was the Lightning. There was a dealership that had marketed it up in the north. It was near Michigan that had gotten the first delivery, and there was a big
Yep.
publicity stunt around it specifically. But I mean, you are the first for the GMC. Um, Obviously, we come from a background where we've discussed on the podcast multiple times the gaps, I'd say, in the Lightning, with the range being less than some of the newer ones, the charging speed being a little bit less than some of the newer ones. And it seems like, and I was actually talking to a party about this yesterday. It seems like the GMC is checking all the boxes as far as range, charging speeds. Tell us a little, have you done any public charging yet with it? Or have you just charged at the house to date? And have you done any kind of efficiency testing on what you're estimating the range to be on a full charge?
So right now I charge mostly at home. I'm getting about 21 miles per hour. It's just a level two. It's actually my old Tesla charger. I have charged here at work, which is a level two, but it only gets me about 8 miles per hour. So that's just emergency. But I did it to test it, see how it worked. Um, when I set it to 100%, it's saying it should take it up to about 453 miles estimated. Right now I'm sitting at 75% and 336 miles available.
That's just
Um, I
crazy.
did I did hear from a dealer that's been testing the Silverado RST, and he says they're getting 480 plus if you stay in the city.
It's
Absolutely.
So
Yeah.
remarkable.
I
yeah,
mean,
so
that's
Amazing.
Odd.
the actual real world testing for the Silverado, which is the same base, the base system with the Ultium platform. They're saying that on the interstate, you're getting north of 400 miles with the Silverado. And yeah, I mean, the charging speeds on the Silverado, you saw on a supercharger or fast charger, whatever you want to call it, DCFC is getting 360 to 380 as far as top peak charging speeds, which is just insane.
Yeah, and I drive over a small mountain pass to work. It's only 22 miles each way, but it's over a pass both ways. And it's still estimating me at 450 at 100% charge, knowing that's my commute every single day on the highway.
I mean,
So,
I wish we didn't have to have giant 200 kilowatt hour batteries to get there, but I
Yeah.
mean that's the sweet spot of where people want to be. This is the
Yeah.
reality is that for these things to start to be on par, they need to be in that mid 400-mile range, and that's going to get you. I don't. Do you tow, Wade? Was that a factor, or was it just the battery size weighed into that? No, no pun intended.
so the all around aspects of the truck weighed into it. Because yes, I like the Hummer, but I like the fact that I can tow 10,000 pounds. Right now, I have a 26-foot Airstream that's going to get hooked up to this tonight to leave tomorrow. We normally pull that actually with a Colorado diesel. Works great, but this is going to outperform that. And I'm hoping to see 250 plus or better out of the mileage from towing, but that's to be seen here later this week.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of times what I've seen is with the EV trucks specifically, you put a load on it and you don't know it's there. I mean, like you hit the gas pedal and the torque and everything that's so high on these trucks that I mean, there's been people with 10,000 pound loads on the back of a Lightning and they can barely, the truck doesn't have any indication that it's on the back of it. So curious to kind of see that and then how that also impacts your range because one of the larger things that we're seeing, is hey, the Lightning exists and the range is 320, but you put a trailer on the back of it and it's going to get 100 to 120 miles. And a lot of people have grievance with that low range, which I mean, in a gas powered vehicle, it's the same, but refueling is much quicker. In this instance, with the higher battery pack, can you actually get 200 to 250 miles with an Airstream attached? And if that would be the case, that's a game changer when it comes to applications for people that need to tow product like boats or trailers or something like that.
Yeah, absolutely. And we'll see. And they say this truck can add 100 miles of charge in 10 minutes on a 350 kilowatt charger. So if I can find one of those, I'm going to test that as well. So,
Yeah, what I want you to do is I want you to go to Electrify America or find one of those chargers that are capable of delivering 350 to 400 and then send us a clip of that charging experience
Yeah, because
where
it won't.
it talks about the delivery curve because our trucks, like if I go to a 350 charger, my truck, because of the 400-volt architecture, because of the limitations in the wiring, it will only ever receive 170 to 180 kilowatts delivered at any given moment. That's the peak, and then it goes down from there. So at when the battery's low and when I'm getting the max charging speed, it's 180, and as it gets higher, it's trickling into the 150s, the 120s. And then once you get over 80%, it's like 90, 60 to 90. Your truck should technically be able to receive like 360 to 370, which is over double the charging speed. And so even though you do have a 30% larger battery than we have, the charging speed is so much more significant. You should see, like you said, 100 miles in 10 minutes. I mean, that should absolutely be the case because of that charging speed with 800-volt architecture.
yeah, we'll see. And let's keep our fingers crossed for that.
Yeah.
And the towing that you're doing with the Airstream, how many times a year do you do that? Is there a certain couple spots that you always go to and you know exactly how far that is, or do you travel different places all the time? Is that something that you're going to be needing to unhitch potentially and charge, or is it within the range of the truck?
We do all kinds of different trips. So last year we went to the Grand Canyon, Moab, all those in one big loop. Obviously, I didn't have this truck at the time to test it. This time for tomorrow's trip, it's about 90 to 100 miles one way, and then we'll be traveling around the town as well for about 5 days. And so this one we know, but we travel from national park to national park, all kinds of just different sightseeing. And so it'll get all kinds of different options.
And the good thing is to start on a lower, a lower space. Here's the question is what is the efficiency? Look at the miles per kilowatt and then multiply that by your battery size. And so then, I mean, if you're getting 1.2, then you can, you'd basically be able to say, hey, I'm going to get 220 range out of this battery pack. But the question is, what's the efficiency going to be with that load? And then obviously just multiplying that by the battery pack size, I mean, will give you a good indication on the long distance on what you can trust with the truck with that trailer specifically on it.
Now,
Yeah,
now,
absolutely.
do you plan to power your Airstream with the truck? Because I assume it's got that 240 out like the others. And have you looked at that? And are you able to plug in the Airstream to it when you're camping?
I haven't tested that. We have a full hookup site, but it does have the 30 amp power out 240 in the back. Um, and so I do have the ability to power my Airstream, and maybe we'll test that. I might have to get a 30 amp adapter because I have a 50 amp trailer, but
Do you do boondocking, or is it primarily spots where it's already got the power there? And are you able to? Is there any restrictions, or have you even looked into? Or can you then, when you get there, plug in? I know some campgrounds, for example, will let you, and others won't. Have you started to explore that at all?
briefly, very few actually do let EVs charge, which I think is a little crazy. If you're going to have a campground, you're going to open it up. Why don't you put a charging station right there and you can make a little extra money? How many people are going to be going to this these days? There's a business opportunity right there.
Yeah, I think that's one of the big aspects that I appreciated about the Lightning was I wanted that 240. It was so important. And for someone that's out there going to different national parks, going to the Grand Canyon, going to these different places, Moab, how cool is that to be able to not be constrained to places that have shore power? That really opens up a lot of possibilities for you. And I think that's one of the exciting things. And then if you can find, and I don't know, man, they need websites. These are the things that the um, kind of the companies are going to have to catch up to is finding a way to filter out and locate those places that will let you plug it in. Um, because it's and the only thing I can think of is maybe the plugs aren't designed to be at, because that happens in garages all the time where if you use a standard plug that is, only using low power, but some of those trailers they're using air conditioners and they're pulling quite a few kilowatts too. So that doesn't seem right. It's
One of the benefits, though, to having a 200 kilowatt battery pack is, I mean, if you're using it to power your camper, your trailer, whatever, I mean, you have a lot more power on
plenty.
demand. Just like, the advertisements for powering your house, the Lightning can advertise 3 days, whatever they say, but I mean, this is a week because the battery pack's so much larger. So I mean, for backup power sources, I mean, the extra battery does have benefit there.
Yeah, and even when
Yeah,
they say things like 3 days or whatever, I mean they're talking if you don't like pare down, you know what I mean? In an emergency situation, you're not running your whole house like you would normally. And I mean, can you imagine the Silverado? You go half a month on that thing if you're trying to, if you're truly in an emergency and you're just kind of using a couple lights and your essentials, your refrigerators. God dang, man,
Between
so
Chris, between your solar and that truck, I mean, you could last forever. I mean, that's
infinite. Yeah, it's almost infinite. Yeah, that's
yeah.
that GMC man, and those the Hummer. Was it GMC Hummer? What else has the Silverado? They all have those big 200. Is there anything else I'm
The
missing?
Cadillac Escalade will have that type of battery pack too.
Yeah, man.
which is
I
also
mean,
made in Tennessee, I think, from what I
yeah, I mean the
understand.
GMC, I mean that Ultium platform is used by GMC, Cadillac, Chevy, and so the Silverado, the Escalade, and the GMC Hummer and the Sierra are all on that same platform.
So Wade, have you always been a GMC guy? Josh is a little bougie, so he wanted that GMC. He's been waiting, but because you mentioned the Hummer and now the not Silverado, but the Sierra. Have you been a GMC guy? Do you have that affiliation, or is it coincidence?
I've been a GM guy forever. My wife owned a construction company for 22 years, and I ran it for about seven. So we always had the 1 ton diesels at GMC, GM, Silverados, and I love those forever. And so why not continue and just go with the brand I've trusted for all these years?
Can you?
So
I don't know, Josh. Did you have a video of the inside, or can Wade show us the
I
inside of that? Because
I am
that's the
going to, yeah, I mean, we're going to basically walk through the vehicle and all of its
there we go.
features, and we can kind of discuss some of the variables that are in the vehicle itself and see kind of what we have to think about it. But yeah, the here is the first look at the very first delivered GMC.
Mm, love the
Um,
color. One of my favorite colors on the
and it's the
Yeah,
vehicle is
only
that
that
one.
gray.
It's the only one that it comes with. But I mean, I love it. I think it's terrific. Um, you can, I mean, yeah, looking at the truck compared to the Lightning, because that's all we really can meaningfully compare it to. It looks like I mean, obviously this is the top trim model, being the Denali. So this has all the bells and whistles. But if you look at comparing it to the F-150 Lightning Platinum, this just to me has more bells and whistles. I mean, you get for the same cost that the Platinum was when it was delivered, you get obviously the higher charging speeds. You get all the same features with the inside, but the sound system looks improved. And as we'll see in this video, I mean, there's going to be several bits and pieces of cool tech that just isn't featured in the Lightning.
Well, and you also got to remember too, though, the Lightning has been out what 2 years now. So
Right.
obviously there's a lot that's going to happen in a design on 2 years. But a couple things I noticed too is when I sit into the back seat of the Chevy, it has a lot larger window there in the back, airspace, and then also the front to me was deeper but not as wide. But it looked very close in volume. But I can get a little bit more into the front of mine, but still, the range and a lot of the other things just make that. Oh, look at the little details.
Yeah. That frunk looks great, man. I
Yeah,
am
it
a
does.
frunk nerd, and there was you can see a couple cup holders. They got the power in the frunk, which I really really like. I think that should always be there. What was
I do beef with the charge port being on the rear, because if you're towing a
yeah
load, you have to detach your load in order to charge, unless you have a pull-through charger. And so in that regard, I mean, the front makes more sense to where you could pull forward into a charging space if there's nobody else there and be able to plug in. But, Wade, for your instance, if you're pulling up to a public supercharger that's only pull up and you have your Airstream, you have to somehow get the middle of your truck to the charger, which is, it's a minor feedback point if you have pull through chargers. But that's where, obviously there's something to be said about that. But feature wise, it looks very similar as far as like the screen and some of those amenities to what the Lightning has to provide. What was the little Thor hammer button at the bottom left? Is that put in like rage mode, or what is that?
So that is their full power mode. Um, it looks to me like a Thor's hammer, so I just kind of jokingly said that. They never
Oh,
gave a name for me. They just said this is full power mode. It makes a little animation, and then it puts the hammer up on your dash, right by your kilowatt hour usage based on the pedal,
see,
and
for
gives you full.
me, it goes back to Days of Thunder or NASCAR. What you're doing there is dropping the hammer. That's all your power. You're dropping the hammer. So I like that. Either if it's a Thor with the electric side or you're dropping the hammer, I like it regardless.
Lots of
that's a
storage
ton of
space.
yeah a ton of center console space. Where
Yeah, it is.
so
Look at
we have a
that.
lot of space taken up by the shifter. Does this still have like the traditional on off button? How does it shift gears? Does it have a knob?
There is
Uh,
no shift gear, is there? I mean, where's the where is it on where is the gift that
Great
at?
seats.
Behind
Those
the
back
steering,
seats are awesome.
it just has a reverse drive, and there is no power on off button except for on the screen. It's a get in and drive. You get in, step on the brake pedal, truck turns on. You get out,
Very
close the
cool.
door, turns off.
There's a little hump back there on the back. I'm surprised to see. Look at that right there. You see there, little
Little
hump.
hump, yeah.
Not much, but that's surprising. The
I see a mat being curled up. It is pretty much dead flat back there.
oh, okay. That's just an illusion then. Okay. Yeah,
I
Yeah.
mean, great clearance in the back, like always.
yeah. Now this doesn't have the mid gate that the Silverado
Watch
has, right?
this. Watch
It's a
this.
it's a multi-pro mid gate, so it can open 3 different ways.
Oh man. Oh, are we about to see this?
This is how you access the rear trunk. So they have a seatbelt tuck
Oh, look at
space.
this.
You fold all the seats forward, and then basically it gives you the full breakdown of how you're able to access that
Stop it.
elongated bed.
Stop it. Oh, what's happening right now? More
You
than
can
meets the eye. Transformers right here, right now.
It
Look
has
at
a little
that.
spot to slip it in.
Smart.
It clicks into place to make sure it doesn't get damaged. And look at this.
Oh,
Would
stop
you
it.
look at that?
Oh,
Bam. You just elongated your bed by how far is that? Like 4 feet extra?
I'm done.
Yeah,
Whoa.
bed
and you.
extend goes to 10'10".
Oh my God! And then without the bed cover, you could go all the way that size with the box that big.
You
Okay,
could,
that's impressive.
I mean, isn't that insane? I mean,
Yeah,
you could go
that's
all the way
pretty
to the
wild.
front screen with a load. I mean, whatever that is. But I mean, it's a convertible hatchback truck. I mean, you've never seen that feature offered in another truck of any rivaling class. But I mean, just that capability alone. I mean, look at that extra space. I mean, if you're a hauler or you have something long to haul, that's insane. I mean, that's just cool.
Well done, GM. Well done.
But then look at, I mean, here's the rear tailgate with it. I mean, this is pretty signature GM, but you got the
Yeah, it
step.
is.
You got the step. I mean, and Ford has always kept it pretty basic. They're getting the little handrail and the step in, but I mean, the Ford tailgate, I mean, the GM tailgate has that same functionality.
An extra outlet. And that's is that a 240?
There's a
240
240 and
twist.
four
You got
regular outlets back
a
there.
regular 240. So you can run you can run large drills, things like that.
That's the
Grills.
same as the Lightning setup right there. Yeah.
Yeah.
Just opposite side, but yeah.
Yeah.
Did it come with that tonneau cover? Was that an option, or was that just your full in loaded spec? So that's there.
That came with the Edition 1.
Nice. Man,
I should have got that
congratulations,
on mine.
man.
God, that looks good.
It does look good.
Super Cruise. So I mean, in my opinion, that's a definite plus up from the Lightning's Blue Cruise. Have you used the Super Cruise yet on it?
I've used it 3 days in a row, and I will say it's light years ahead of the way I used to try my Tesla on the same road. The Tesla would slam on the brakes due to guardrails, no problem.
And
Smooth.
it changes lanes. I mean, it does all of it as far as the auto drive control function, correct?
It does. It has a little camera right on the steering column just above the steering wheel that watches you. If you put your phone up, it'll start to flash and kick off, but they want no hands on the wheel, unlike
Which
Tesla, where you're so often.
Yeah. I mean, in the Lightning, I mean, there's sections of the road where you can be hands off and section where you can be hands on, just depending on how it's reading the roads and the lines and all that. But the Super Cruise system overall, based on all the reviews that I've seen, has definitely it shines more with, you know, the Escalade has used it and some of the other, you know, luxury trim models have used it, and it seems to be a better, more engineered system than the Blue Cruise. And I think Blue Cruise is starting to get there. I mean, they just are starting in the new versions of Blue Cruise to get the lane change and some of those features, but that's it seems like Super Cruise is definitely probably a year or two ahead in its evolution.
What's the software that it's running? Is that running Android Automotive? Is it Android Auto, Apple CarPlay enabled? Like, walk us through the user interface part of it.
So it's through Google. I believe it's somewhat Android based. I can flip my camera and let me see if I can just show it to you. It's live on right now.
Have you been using the native navigation or using like Google Maps? Is that all integrated to the
Google
same?
Maps is built in.
That's awesome.
So
there it is.
Oh,
Yeah,
that's nice. Look at that.
I'm a big fan of the Google Maps. You know,
They do great. It's
Yep.
the best mapping system out there right now.
it really is. The Ford is using some version of like Garmin. Other places use like a TomTom type, and it's just
It's
so
not
old.
the same. It's not the same.
No.
Yeah.
Nice little
there's
Peter
all 300
Gabriel. Look at you.
miles.
Look at you. You nailed it.
On the
Yeah.
money. Yeah.
Look at that. That is just something else.
It's got that same knob that like the Lightning has.
Yeah.
I like the texture on that. Look at that almost Rivian-esque kind of texture behind it there on
The wood. Yeah.
Yep. Is that wood? Is that plastic? What's that like there?
They say it's wood. It's actually raised grain. So
Okay. That's that GMC spec right there, right? That's what Josh wants. Josh wants that.
Exact vehicle.
Yep.
It's
Yeah.
it's that bougie life for me.
It
No,
is,
I
man.
mean-
I'm holding on for the next Ford. I've pretty much decided that that's where I'm going.
And we've discussed this. I mean, I think that the T3 or whatever iteration of the next model of the Lightning is going to be, you're going to see improvements. I mean, it's going to be faster charging speeds, probably some better range, but the amenities that they're offering in this Denali, I mean, I just don't think that the Platinum can compare to it. I mean, if you're looking at the cost of a brand new Lightning, what is the most recent Ford F-150?
I'd say it's still
Lightning
90.
cost?
I would say you're still looking at 90 for the Platinum.
I mean,
But you don't have the range. That's the thing
Platinum's
about
was
it. You don't have that range.
95 last time I checked, but I mean, I'm pulling it up now on the website so I can speak
Yeah, and
accurate
I've
data.
never thought the Platinum was worth it because you know you can get the Lariat pretty much all in with just under 80.
It's
And
88 is now the starting price for the Platinum, but it's a 300-mile range.
Yeah.
Still got the 22-inch tires. I like the tires on the GMC more. But I mean, you're looking at it's 88 is the MSRP on it, but that is the starting price on that specifically,
Well, one
based
thing
on what I'm seeing on the
that's
website.
interesting to me right now is because Chevy is, or GMC in this case, but Chevy as well has come out with your truck. You know, the 0 to 60 on it's around 4.5 seconds, where ours is right at 4 seconds, a little quicker. You're both dual motors. So our trucks are dual motor, your truck is dual motor. You get a lot more range. One thing that makes me wonder is by having that half a second less 0 to 60 in speed, if it would increase because of the design of the motors, that range to where you have a lot more range, I would almost sacrifice a lot of the quick speed to get that additional range. So I wonder if there's a correlation between the 0 to 60 being at 4.5 versus
It's
4
probably just
and
the
the range of the
overall. It's
truck
probably just the
too.
overall weight of the vehicle. I mean, with that extra battery size, it has to be. I don't know the exact apples to apples, but I'm sure it has to
Oh,
be
yeah, good
a
idea to
chunk
Yeah,
look.
I would.
more weight.
It's brute force. I mean, you could. I noticed it was like at a 1.7 miles per kilowatt, and I know, Wade, you've got an uphill climb there too. But it's. I'm gonna guess that overall, I
Ooh,
mean,
8,900 to 9,500 pounds
it's a beast.
for that truck. So almost a 9,000 pound truck.
So the
I mean,
curb weight of the GMC Sierra EV is 8,500 pounds. The curb weight of the Lightning Platinum 6,900. So it's
This
a
it's that
this
battery
is for
pack.
the GMC Sierra EV Denali Edition 1. So there is different
Yeah,
editions out there. The Edition 1,
it'll be
the
less, probably
lightest is going to be
less.
89.
They're probably going to do less battery packs and less, on some of the cheaper models to lower cost because battery is so expensive. But I mean, you're looking at a 1,600 pound difference in the weight of the vehicle because of that battery. So I mean, that does make a huge difference, I think, on the overall delivery. Obviously, there's more engine to deliver, but
Wow.
that's where, I mean, weight's going to be your limiting factor
Yeah,
there.
6,500 to 7,000 pounds on the Ford. So those batteries probably represent, a ton or half a ton or a ton, a full ton, 2,000 pound more for the batteries.
I guess that midgate too isn't insignificant when it comes to the engineering and what it takes to have that into the frame. What do you know, Wade, on the drivetrain? Does it have the locking differential, like a mechanical locker, or is it a software lock? And then I don't know if you're going to know this either, but are both motors front and rear permanent magnet, or is one of them able to get like an efficiency mode on the highway with a different front motor on it?
That I'm not sure. All I know is it's all-time all-wheel drive with those. You can't kick one or the other off. You can kick it out of that full power mode with the hammer, or kick it in, and that might be where some of the efficiency is it's not running at full horsepower all the time.
Yeah.
Towards that same way or not.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
that means they're permanent magnets on that one, or
Yep.
what is it, PMSM or whatever the designation is for it. So I know I think it's just a big battery. I think they put a big battery in it that, once you hook that thing up to your house, you can run, like you said, Chris, 2 weeks probably or
Right.
more. So you have all your emergency stuff taken care of as well. I mean, I don't see anything negative about that truck. Only positives that they've taken what's been already been built. They've taken what Ford's done and said, okay, we're coming out with one. And I think they've hit a lot of things that a lot of people would like to see in a Ford. So kudos on the truck. It looks great.
One thing I was going to say with the GMC is they are using adaptive air suspension. Um,
Oh,
so it actually can raise and lower. Am I
wow.
correct in saying that, Wade?
Correct. As soon as you put it into park, it drops down to entry exit mode, drops all the way down on the tire.
Wow.
You drive, it goes into the first level, and then you have the next two heights. But the top two heights are limited to 50 miles an hour, and then the off road's limited to 30 miles an hour.
So, like for reference, the clearance of the F-150 Lightning is 8.9 inches off the ground, and that's fixed. There's no editing to that. It's a 9-inch clearance, and that's it. But with the GMC Sierra, you can raise it up to 15.9 inches off the ground. So that's an extra
What?
6 inches of clearance. And like he's saying, you can't go high speeds with it, but 6 inches matters if you know what I
Yeah,
mean.
it
So
does.
Yeah, I
No,
think when
but at
you're
the same
waiting,
time, the clearance aspect of my Lightning, somebody had asked me recently, like, have you taken it off-roading? And I had. I mean, I had taken it on a piece of land and I was driving and I hit a dirt mound, like just a little dirt hump on a trail. I was trying to get over it and I couldn't because the clearance was low. But with this, I mean, this is a very heavy truck that with that adaptive air suspension, I mean, it's the same type of system similar to what's used in the Escalade. That makes it a very smooth, quiet, very float feel with that adaptive air suspension. But also, if you are going off roading, that does make a huge difference. I mean, 6 inches of ground clearance is insane. I mean, it's almost 50%, 100% more almost. I mean, it's crazy. So
Well, obviously the Cybertruck also is full-time four-wheel drive, if I'm not mistaken, and it doesn't currently have a way to lock the differentials. Our trucks does. So I think that I
they updated
wonder
that
how that
just
would do. I'm sure that it have they updated it by
yeah,
now?
yeah, they did. They pushed an update, so it does have the mechanical locker on there,
Fine, okay. Because
but
I knew that
originally
was
at
one
launch,
reason it was having a lot of problems trying to
yeah.
do things. And I'm wondering what type of mechanism they'll do for the GMC. I guess it's going to be mechanic or um, software-based locking systems since it has full-time traction.
now, Wade, on a little bit different note, have you tested out the sound system in the GMC?
I
Saw Peter
have,
Gabriel.
yeah, it's pretty good. It's the Bose sound system. There's a subwoofer underneath the back seat. Um, I'd say it's up there. I wouldn't say it's the highest class. But that's coming from a like Bang Olufsen in the Audi e-tron where there's 16 speakers. There's I think 8 or 10 in here. So it's a great sound system. Is it the best in the world? Probably not. They put their money elsewhere, which I can value that part.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think, in my opinion, I mean, I've heard a lot of people. I have the base B&O system, and was it Sergio that was commenting on the Chris? Was it Sergio that was commenting on the speaker systems?
Yeah, yeah. The Cybertruck has a much better sound system
We were
than the
comparing the
Lightning.
two there, and he was suggesting that the platinum level trim of the B&O did make a pretty big difference with the sound system compared to the one that I have. I was massively underwhelmed. I mean, it's a good sound system compared to like a base stereo system in a lower model, but the B&O system for my Lariat extended range, was just underwhelming. I mean, you expected more, but Bose itself is, I mean, very reputable for sound, and so I figured it would be a pretty decent system overall.
Yeah, the Platinum has it has double the watts, I believe, and it's got more speakers, including in the headrest and that kind of
Yeah,
thing.
yeah.
The B&O that we have in our Lariats, it's I got to say it's like a second tier B&O. I mean, and maybe it's the wattage because it does seem a little underpowered and the speaker placement, but and it's hard to go wrong with Bose. I mean, maybe it's not top of the mark, but I got to think that it's pretty decent.
I'd imagine it's probably pretty thumping. I don't know if I can find the watt difference between the
What?
systems.
Turned down for a
Yeah,
watt?
turned out for
What?
What?
watt.
How many watts? That's
It
awesome.
doesn't. I don't think it's going to say. It's not going to tell me.
What is your road trip music of choice, Wade? Like, what is the vibe? What is the oeuvre of the musical selection? I saw a little bit of the Peter Gabriel already, so we saw a sneak preview. But what's on your playlist as you're rocking out down there with your mid gate down,
We
showing
prefer,
off?
prefer rock. And like my son-in-law will do, he made us a boomer playlist.
Boomer playlist. That's awesome.
We loaded it on our Spotify, and away we go.
So, two more questions as we kind of wrap this up because I don't want to get too long-winded on how much I want to nerd out over your truck, and it is what it is. But one, what drew you to the truck as of now? Are you happy with your decision? And then two, after you answer that question, dive in a little bit about. You already mentioned it briefly, but tell us a little bit about the details about the trip you're about to take, and then we'll do a follow up. Coming up in the next couple of weeks on how that experience went with towing your Airstream.
Yeah, so I was drawn to the truck again. I've been GM most of my life. I've ranged out here or there, but again, I had the Hummer on order. I love the Hummer, but it's something that you want to make a statement where I can drive this truck other than the front end and the big giant wheels. I can blend in and not think, oh, hey, he's got a big giant electric truck over there. It can be your everyday truck with more capabilities. and be able to use it like a truck. I've loaded this thing 3, 4 times already for storage. I've taken trees to my son-in-law's house already. So it's not just a garage princess. It gets used every day, and that's what I bought it for. Again, we're gonna hook it up to a trailer tomorrow or tonight to leave tomorrow, and we're gonna do about 100 miles one way. Drop it at the campsite, tour around, do some sightseeing, bring it back next week, and we'll give a recap on how well that went. And it's a
Absolutely.
26-foot Airstream that's 7,300 pounds.
It'd be a really good one to kind of see what the range does. But yeah, I mean, I agree wholeheartedly. I think your GMC is going to stand out more than our Lightning because that front end is tough looking. I mean, and it's very well illuminated. One of my biggest beefs with my truck presentation wise is that front light bar doesn't show up until it's dark. I mean, with my truck color, you can't really see it that much at all. But the front of your truck, you can see very, very clearly. It looks different than it's not like one of these things. It's not like the others. But you know, at the same time, just the practicality of just a normal person's truck that you can drive around and just have a cool, fun, unique thing. And the one thing that always blows people's minds is the torque and the power. I mean, a lot of people have never driven an EV, especially in my area, and putting them in the driver's seat of an F-150 and hitting that gas pedal, and they're like, "What just happened?" 4 and 4.5 seconds. It's the same feeling. I mean, it's just the power and the rush of having a full size pickup truck that weighs 9,000 pounds, and you're able to go 0 to 60 in 4.5 seconds. It's just crazy. But you know, the towing capability, you know, using it for a truck, you know, we can beat up our trucks and it's okay. So yeah.
I always tell people when I'm doing the EV events and stuff, I'm like, hop in, get inside, poke around. It's a truck. I'm not precious about it. And that's what I really like about it is that it's not Porsche Taycan. It's not even the e-tron. I mean, the e-tron is a great, beautiful car. I don't know that I want people treading around in my e-tron, but with a truck, it's a truck. And that's it makes it a little bit less scary to let people poke around in it, I think.
Of course, if I had the GMC, I'd probably stroke and say my precious.
Yeah.
But anyways, you know. But yeah. Well, thank you, Wade. I appreciate it. I wanted to kind of give a shout out. You know, one of the things that you know, is unique. We kind of discussed it briefly, but you are a seller of Vegas Golf, correct? Tell us a little bit more about that.
Yeah, so Vegas Golf, the game, it's the #1 selling game for on the course play. Uh, you can still record your handicap, have a good time. You can bet money with it, or you can just play it as for points. They look like poker chips. You hit a tree off the tee, you get the tree chip. It's -1. I hit a tree after you pass it back. It gets you engaged, having a good time. And the beer chip, you come up short on a par 3 off the tee, you put that in your pocket. Every time the cart girl comes around, you have to buy a round of beers for that whole foursome. What better than a golf course shop? We were at a tournament. 7 teams had to buy 84 drinks that they would have maybe bought 20 because of one game.
The golf course must love that.
Yeah.
Did I hear you say I get points for hitting a tree? Like, is there that's going to reward me for my already awful shot?
So that's going to give you a negative point, but you can hold that until the next guy hits the tree, and you can happily throw that at him across the course.
That is great.
It's a way to make your golf game dynamic. And it's me, I enjoy golfing on occasion. And it's something that, you know, I enjoy going with the boys and having a good time. And so the dynamicness of having an extra element to kind of make it fun and unique is definitely something that you know, for those that are not professional golfers, which is 95% of us, having that fun element to kind of bring a different twist to your game is definitely a cool stack on there.
I gotta share this one with you, man. I am a horrible golfer. I really only have 2 rules: that it needs to be forward and findable. And trust me, it's not always either one of those. But I have one hole-in-one to my resume, and the way it occurred was in one of those courses that's between like a housing development. You know, it's almost everything's like a par 3 kind of situation, right? And you go 8 holes one way and you flip around, you go 8 holes back, right? And so I'm just using like a 5-iron off the tee, and I'm not very good at it, but I just really lay into one nice, and it floats up and goes up over a tree well past the hole, and all of a sudden you just hear this doing as it hits like a street sign and then bounces back onto the green and falls in the cup. And that is my greatest shot ever. So incorporate
So you're
that into the
saying that
game.
you've gotten a hole in one and I've not, and I play golf all this time, and you've gotten it off a stop sign?
It got it off a stop sign. Yeah. So we need to see that if you can hit a street sign somewhere in your game, Wade. That is the SIBO point of hitting a sign and then having it land on the green. That's got to be worth at least a point.
I don't think putt counts.
Doesn't count.
Being made all the time, so I'll mention that to the team up there they'll make a street sign one for you.
That's awesome.
Well, to all of our listeners, go take your EV of choice, whatever it is, take it to the local golf course, but go to the link in the description below, purchase the Vegas golf game, and enjoy it on the course with your EV. So there you go. Alrighty, well, that's been an enlightening episode of Turn Down for What. Like I said, I'm excited. I'm excited for you. I struggle a little bit with that, covetousness of like, man, that should be mine. That should be in my driveway. But I will happily wait for them to hit the next sale and see if I can get enough value out of my Lightning, because those values aren't the same. But yeah, beautiful truck. Congratulations on being the first. That's a very exciting point. Love to have you back on some point to share kind of your 1,000-mile review and kind of hear back on your trip and how that goes and what you're seeing for efficiency, and definitely document some of those features with the charging speeds and stuff, and reach out to us, because I'd love to be able to provide updates or have you on to provide updates for kind of the experience, because we like to spotlight all things EV, and a lot of times when these things are in the showrooms and being catered around, you can't really get real world testing, and you're one of the first ones to be able to drive it and tell us these details. So it'd be great to be able to share that with our listeners. So
I really appreciate you guys having me on and the opportunity to share it with you guys.
Absolutely.
Beautiful truck, man. Congratulations to you. Thanks for sharing it all with us.
Absolutely.
Thanks, guys.
Well, until next time, tune in next week for more EV news and updates. Have a good one. Thanks for tuning in to Turn Down for What. Tune in next week for more EV news and updates. Make sure you're subscribed with your notifications on to be notified when we post more episodes like this one. See you then.